Have you ever heard a story so strange, so unsettling that it feels like it couldn't possibly be real? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving into one of America's oldest and most chilling unsolved mysteries, the Lost Colony of Roanoke. This isn't just a ghost story. It's a true historical event that has puzzled historians, archaeologists, and conspiracy theorists for over 400 years. Our story begins in 1587. Queen Elizabeth I sits on the throne of England, a time of great exploration and ambition. More than 115 English men, women, and children, filled with hope for a new life, set sail across the treacherous Atlantic Ocean. Their destination? Roanoke Island, a small strip of land off the coast of what is now North Carolina. They were pioneers, the first English families to attempt to build a permanent settlement in the New World. Think about the courage that must have taken to leave everything you know behind for a world you've only heard about in stories. The colony was led by a man named John White, an artist and cartographer. Among the settlers were his own daughter, Eleanor Dare, and his son-in-law, Ananias Dare. Shortly after their arrival, Eleanor gave birth to a baby girl named Virginia Dare. This wasn't just any baby. Virginia was the first English child born in the Americas. She was a symbol of a new beginning, a new future for the English in this vast unknown land. The colonists set to work immediately, building homes and a fort, trying to carve out a life for themselves. But starting a colony from scratch is incredibly difficult. Resources were scarce, and tensions with some of the local Native American tribes were beginning to rise. Before long, it became clear that they needed more supplies from England if they were going to survive the coming winter. So John White made the difficult decision to sail back to England. He promised his family and the other colonists that he would return as quickly as possible with food, tools, and reinforcements. He left behind his daughter, his newborn granddaughter, and everyone else, entrusting their safety to the small fortified settlement they had built. He couldn't have known that when he waved goodbye from the ship's deck, it would be the last time he would ever see any of them again. John White's journey back to England was supposed to be swift, but fate had other plans. When he arrived, he found his home country on the brink of war. The mighty Spanish Armada was preparing to attack, and every available ship, including his, was commissioned for the defense of England. White was trapped, unable to secure a vessel to return to his family. For 3 long, agonizing years he pleaded and fought to get back to Roanoke, his heart heavy with worry for the people he had left behind. Finally, in August of 1590, on his granddaughter Virginia's 3rd birthday, John White's ship anchored off the coast of Roanoke Island. As they approached the shore, he called out, sounding trumpets, hoping for a joyful reply. But all he heard was silence, an eerie, deafening silence. The settlement, which should have been bustling with life, was completely deserted. As White and his men walked through the abandoned village, a sense of dread washed over them. The houses had been carefully dismantled, not violently destroyed. The protective fence, or palisade, around the settlement was still standing, suggesting there had been no great battle or invasion. But the people, every single man, woman, and child, were gone. It was as if they had simply vanished into thin air. There were no bodies, no graves, no signs of a struggle or a panicked departure. Then they found the only clue left behind. Carved into a large wooden post at the entrance of the fort was a single, cryptic word, CROATOAN. White also found the letters CROW carved into a nearby tree. He knew what this meant. Or at least, he thought he did. Before he left for England, the colonists had agreed on a secret code. If they had to leave the settlement for any reason, they would carve their destination into a tree or post. If they were in danger, they would carve a Maltese cross above the name. There was no cross. CROATOAN was the name of a nearby island, now known as Hatteras Island, and it was also the name of a friendly Native American tribe who lived there, led by their chief Manteo. This clue gave White a glimmer of hope. Perhaps the colonists had simply relocated and were living safely with the Croatan people. He was desperate to sail south to CROATOAN Island, to find them, to find his family. But once again, fate was cruel. A massive storm rolled in, damaging their ships and making the journey to CROATOAN Island impossible. With his supplies dwindling and his crew on the verge of mutiny, a heartbroken John White was forced to abandon his search and return to England. He would spend the rest of his life trying to raise funds for another expedition, but he would never again set foot in the New World. He died never knowing what became of his daughter, his granddaughter, and the lost colony of Roanoke. And so the mystery was born. What happened to over 115 people? The theories are as numerous as they are fascinating. The most optimistic theory, and the one John White clung to, is that the colonists assimilated with the Croatan tribe. It's possible they moved to CROATOAN Island, intermarried, and became part of the local community. There is some tantalizing evidence for this. Later European explorers reported encountering Native Americans with fair skin, light-colored eyes, and European surnames who claimed their ancestors were white. Could these have been the descendants of the Roanoke colonists? Another, more grim theory suggests they were attacked and wiped out. While there were no signs of a battle at the fort, it's possible the colonists were ambushed after they relocated. Tensions with other, less friendly tribes were a constant threat. Some historians point to the Powhatan theory, suggesting that a powerful chief ordered an attack on the colonists after they moved inland. But without any bodies or definitive proof of a massacre, this remains just one possibility among many. Then there are the darker, more speculative theories. Could the colonists have succumbed to a devastating disease that swept through the settlement, forcing the survivors to flee? Or did they fall victim to starvation during a harsh winter, their desperation driving them into the unforgiving wilderness where they perished one by one? Some even whisper of supernatural explanations, that the island itself was cursed, or that some mysterious force simply erased them from existence. For centuries, archaeologists and historians have scoured Roanoke and Hatteras Islands, searching for concrete answers. They've uncovered fascinating artifacts, pieces of English pottery, a sword hilt, a musket barrel, and other tools mixed in with Native American sites. These discoveries prove that the colonists were there, and they interacted with the local population. But they don't solve the ultimate riddle. What was their final fate? One of the most intriguing finds is the Dare Stone, a series of inscribed rocks discovered in the 1930s. The first stone, allegedly written by Eleanor Dare to her father, tells a tragic story of sickness and death, claiming most of the colonists, including her husband and daughter, were killed. It's a compelling, heartbreaking narrative. However, the authenticity of the Dare stones has been fiercely debated for decades, with many experts believing them to be an elaborate hoax. And what about that strange word, CROATOAN? Over the years, it has taken on a life of its own, becoming a legendary part of American folklore. The word has reportedly appeared in other mysterious contexts throughout history. For example, the famous author Edgar Allan Poe was said to have muttered the word repeatedly on his deathbed. It's been found carved into bedposts in abandoned houses and written in the journals of people who later disappeared. Is it a coincidence, or is this word a key, a warning, a lingering echo of a long-lost tragedy? The Lost Colony of Roanoke is more than just a historical puzzle. It's a story about hope, loss, and the enduring power of the unknown. It reminds us that even in our modern world, with all its technology and knowledge, there are still secrets that history refuses to give up. The fate of those 115 men, women, and children remains a blank page in the American story. Perhaps they found a new home among a new people. Perhaps they met a tragic end. Or perhaps the truth is something far stranger than we can ever imagine. What do you think happened to the lost colonists? Did they merge with the Croatan tribe? Were they victims of an attack? Or is there another explanation entirely? Let me know your theories down in the comments below. I'd love to read what you think about this incredible mystery. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's greatest unsolved cases, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the mysteries of our past. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Until next time, stay curious,